Hello, everyone. This is the second iteration of our webinar series. My name is Omid from here in London. I'll be your host today. We have amazing guests and panelists. I said this before in our previous webinar. This is no ordinary webinar, and you'll see what I mean when we get to some of the most exciting things I've seen in this industry. When Ryan comes on and he's just going to blow your mind away, just like Fabian did in our previous one. But let me just take you through the schedule today real quick. What's going to happen? We'll have GridMarkets team. We'll have Mark Ross and Hakeem, co-founders of GridMarkets. We got Ollie and Adam, who are our artists and our developers. We'll talk a little bit about GridMarkets and how to work with that. Then we got an amazing guest today, a very, very interesting speaker. We got Steve White from Oracle, who will talk about security a little bit, because that's very important to us. I'm pretty sure it's important to you too. And then we will land on the most exciting part of today's webinar. That's Ryan OPhelan, and we're going to be talking about some amazing things, like I said, and there will be a Q&A in the end. I'm just going to tell you guys, this is being recorded, and it will be available on GridMarkets website on gridmarkets.com/webinar, so you can actually go ahead and check it out later on. Please make sure you do that. There's a bunch of stuff that we talked about in the previous webinar as well. Also, if you have a question, if you want to submit to the question and answer in the end, there's a Q&A button that you can actually push, and so that we can all see your questions, and your questions won't get left behind. Now, with that, I am going to invite Mark Ross, GridMarkets co-founder, to come on stage, talk a little bit about GridMarkets.
Thanks, Ahmed. Hello, everyone. Thanks for joining us today. Really appreciate your time. I'll just give you a quick overview of who GridMarkets is. Some of you may already know, but we were founded in 2011 with the mission of democratizing creativity. And how we do that is we're trying to make it very simple and very fast to render and to simulate, to have access to, if you will, Disney class rendering capabilities, whether you're a student or a small studio, a freelancer, or even a large studio. We support all the major 3D packages: Maya, Houdini, Nuke, Cinema 4D, 3ds, and Blender. And since 2011, we've served large and small customers in over 90 different countries. So we, as mentioned, we have on one end, we serve very large studios around the world, and all the way down to universities and students and freelancers. It's important to know that our platform and the workflows of it were designed and built by artists. So hopefully if you use the platform, you'll find it to be very intuitive, and that's because we have use the knowledge of artists and their desires to design and implement the solution. And we try to listen to our customers, our studio customers and our artist customers, to get feedback from them to prioritize our roadmap. So very interested in your suggestions on improvements and other things that you'd like to see in our platform. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Hakeem, he's going to describe at a high level how it works.
Great, thank you, Mark. So I'm not going to go and show you a demo at this point, because actually Ryan is going to show that, so I don't want to steal his thunder. But basically, we go to gridmarkets.com/sign-up. It's a two-step process. Basically, you obviously have to register on our website. When you do, please, if you are a former Zinc customer or a current Zinc customer, please provide your Zinc URL so that you'll be eligible for the discount, which we'll talk about mention at the end. And then basically you have to download a proprietary application called Envoy. This is the thing that resides on your desktop and allows you to basically interact with the GridMarkets platform. That will then allow you to download the relevant plugins for the application, that you're using, whether that's, as Mark mentioned, that's 3ds Nuke, Houdini, Maya, or Blender. And then next slide. Go to the next slide. And then once you do that, then Envoy is the thing that's going to basically take all your project files for your specific project. And then via the plugin, you basically have a plugin in Maya to allow you to submit those files and your jobs over into our cloud-based platform that's built on the Oracle platform, which we're talking about. And then you can go and run your job, whether that's V-Ray, RenderMan, Redshift, Arnold, or whatever. We're going to be shortly introducing Corona as well. Next slide. And then basically, as that progresses, and Brian will be showing you this, you'll be able to monitor your uploads, your downloads, and your jobs in Envoy directly. And so then you can actually drill down and get more information about how your jobs are progressing. Next slide. And as the frames are produced, whatever you've specified to automatically download will get, automatically pushed back to you. So it's really a completely unattended, completely automated system. Makes it really super easy, push button simple to be able to submit directly from Maya through to our cloud and back down to you. So anyway, as I said, Ryan is going to be showing you that in action shortly. So I'll leave that to the main act. Thank you.
Excellent. So next up, we got Steve White. He is with Oracle. He's a Oracle Cloud Security Advisor. He's got 24 years of experience behind his belt, and what he says is he is passionate about transforming security. A fun fact, I don't know even you guys know that, but he's a retired U.S. Air Force officer, and he has served for 29 years, 14 of which he has been in security, cyberspace role. So he knows a thing or two about security, and we in GridMarkets, we rely on Oracle Cloud, and security is very important to us, and he's going to be sharing with you how that actually works. Go ahead, Steve.
Well, thanks for that awesome intro. So I'm going to take a real brief bit of time. It's always great to be the security guy between you and the creative and the artist, right? So get out of the way, let me see the good stuff. So I'll be really brief here. Security is a passion of mine, and I'm actually really excited about being part of the Oracle conversation, because when Oracle decided to create what we call our Gen 2 cloud offering, security was inherent in what we wanted to build. Not only do we want to provide an offering that provides the best price and performance for high performance compute workloads like what GridMarkets is building, but also wanted to provide that in the most secure way. And we do that with a couple of really key mechanisms. First is in cloud, one of the problems historically has been there's a lot of knobs to twist, a lot of buttons to push if you want it to be secure. And we thought, it's better if we just make it automated, always on. Security is always there and you can't turn it off. Things like data encryption, for example, there's no mechanisms inside of Oracle Cloud to actually turn off our encryption. You can simply manage some of the ways it works. The other big piece for us was design for isolation. Isolation gives us two really key benefits. One is you get better performance if at the network layer, all of your traffic is isolated away from other customers, other environments. So we designed it for that from the ground up. We also get a really great security benefit from designing our network isolation in a new way, moving it off of the standard compute and into its own isolation layer. So we've isolated both the compute layer, so you get bare metal servers that you need to run your workloads. You also get isolated network so that you have both security and performance. We felt that was a significant requirement for our demanding enterprise customers. And of course, being Oracle, we have deep expertise in data protection. We know databases, we know data, and we've built a number of controls in the platform to help protect the data wherever it sits, right? Whether it's in databases, whether it's in motion, et cetera. So really brief, really fast overview, excuse me, of our kind of inherent security capabilities. We designed this so that organizations like GridMarkets can really quickly build secure environments they can you can trust them and Oracle with your intellectual property, right? This is your heart and soul. This is your energy you've put into this. And the last thing anybody wants to see is that some kind of security compromise happens with the thing you put your blood, sweat, and tears into. And so we built Oracle, and then GridMarkets built their solution on top of that to provide that level of protection, because we know it's important to you and it's important to us as well. So with that, we're going to move on to the main event.
There you go. So now, okay, I got to tell you, folks, before I introduce Ryan OPhelan, I got to tell you something. It took a lot of convincing to even get him to answer questions about himself. I mean, he's the kind of artist that you're probably familiar with, the kind that really wants his work to talk for him. So he doesn't really want to talk about himself, but I'm not going to let you get away with this, Ryan. I told you, I'm going to be asking about your amazing career. But Ryan is a CG generalist, and he has experience of over 17 years in this space. He's worked with some of the top-notch brands, Facebook, Google, Disney, you name it. He's been there, done that. And before we even get started with what he's got to share, I've got to ask you, Ryan, where did you start? I mean, how did it all start? Where did your journey begin?
Well, thank you for that. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, absolutely, loud and clear. Go ahead.
Well, thank you for the intro. That was very nice, and thanks for having me on the webinar. Looking forward to showing my stuff here. So I started. My first job was actually at IBM, making web pages for the U.S. Open, and so it was completely different. I was pretty much coding. And I have a little bit of years of web design and making some pretty horrendous designs there, and then I decided to go back to school in 2000, and I went to SVA, and after that I internshiped at a place that's no longer around, but it's a well-known place called Curious Pictures in Manhattan, and I got the opportunity to work on Disney's series for children called Little Einsteins, and so I was an animator there, and really, one thing just sort of led to another, and I got to work at a bunch of well-known New York studios, and I guess most recently Buck Design. I was a CG supervisor there for 6 years, and then I went on my own, and now I own Jovian Effects, and just recently started as a VFX supervisor for Hey Mister, which is also in Manhattan.
No, that is so cool. And you are a generalist. I don't think we have so many of you in our industry, because folks that get in, they try to specialize. They see it as a must, and they go, if I want to succeed. But then we have very successful artists like you who are generalists. Can you just talk a little bit about that before I go ahead and let you do your thing?
Yeah, I mean, most people they jump into the industry and they end up getting the same kind of work and building their experience on, if they gravitate, if they happen to be good modelers, let's say, they find that they're good modelers when they're in school, and their first portfolio highlights modeling, and they end up getting more modeling jobs, and in a couple of years they're a modeler and a specialist. I think that there are some people like myself that are very curious about the other departments, and so I did modeling, and then I was really into rigging and animation and simulation and lighting. And to some extent, I may not be the best, the best at any of those, right? I'm sort of a jack of all trades. I'm competent in a lot of different areas. But I think one of the advantages to that is that, especially for small studios, they can pretty much throw anything at me. They need a fluid simulation. They can bring that to me. They need a character animated. They need a character rigged. And I think over the years, I gathered, a little bit of insight into how the whole process works, and so I'm able to work with clients and really guide a whole project.
No, I totally get that, and I
Yeah.
know you have some amazing things to share with us in
Well, I
your
don't know.
presentation. Let's get down to your presentation, because a lot of questions that people might have, I'm telling you right now, folks, they might get answered. So be patient, but also throw in your questions using the Q&A button down there. Over to you, Ryan.
All right, let's see if I can set this up. I am going to try to do this. Oh, okay. So let me start. So I'm gonna present a couple of pieces, a couple of jobs that I did recently, and specifically just a couple of shots out of those, just to show something interesting that I worked on, and sort of how the project evolved. And then after I show some of the project work, I have a little bit of a couple of words on the rendering process and rendering services, and what why they're important, and how I my journey through rendering services. So let's start with this. Hopefully this works. This is a, can you guys see that?
And Ryan, we can hear the
I'm sorry.
We can hear it. Go ahead.
Okay, great. So this is a commercial for Chobani, and I'm going to show two of these.
Chobani flip, supernaturally good.
So so I worked on pretty much everything falling from the sky and falling down the stairs and stuff like that. And I wanted to show one more spot. It is from the same campaign. And these all feature this devil character trying to entice people into the country.
Chobani flip, supernaturally good.
So those are really fun spots for me to work on. These spots in particular, they focus on a simulation, and making all the torrents of food look good. And so I started with the junk food. So I made a bunch of a bunch of models here. This is the art director of the production created some of these fake packaging. They're pretty cool. And so, you know, we experimented with piles of junk food, and we ended up with this selection, which is great. A lot of these things are purchased, but some of them are modeled here. So let's see if I can get to the other. Okay, so from the food, we could, you know, now I'm looking at the boards, and so the idea was that there would be a torrent that would knock him off of the stairs. And so, you know, of course, the first thing to do is to model the set. I tracked and modeled you know, the camera position and everything. This was from the director. They said, you know, it should hit him like this, like a big wave. And so you can see here, this is so this is part of the simulation. So so one of the things that we did is I was working with a Houdini artist in Germany, and we used Houdini Engine, which is a fantastic tool to use between Maya and Houdini. In a sense, I gave him the full geometry, and he made a reduced version of the geometry that was easy to sim. And he did the collision simulation of that geometry, and to keep everything efficient, he was able to just give me back a simple point cloud. There's about, in this shot, there are about 400,000 you know, packages or pieces of food, and it's, you know, it's huge. So if he were to try to give me back geometry for this, they would be, you know, gigabytes and gigabytes. So every time there was a new version, it would be you know, a crazy amount. So you can see in the background here, there's, I don't know, probably, I think there's, you know, 200,000 in each, in this, the green foreground simulation and the background simulation. So it's about 500,000 pieces. So this is just showing, after I matched the camera, I animated a guy so that the food items could cast shadows on him, and he could cast shadows on the food. So these are kind of, you know, you can see the density of the donuts in the background. It's it was amazingly light to work with, because all I was really working with was a point cloud, and then with an instancer, I was able to fill in all of the food. So I think there's a couple of things in here that were really interesting. This is a timing from edit, and let's see. Oh, here's the tracking. So this is, you know, I had to match geometry as for a holdout onto the shot. So this is the tracking of that. Oh, this is a failed simulation, but pretty crazy. You can see it bleeding around in the upper decks there. Here's some lighting exploration in environment. Let's see, what else do we have here? I think that's it for this. So I do have a couple more videos that are interesting of the simulation. So this is really just the bounding box, and pretty much similar to how the Houdini simulation would be calculated, right? So it would be using low-res geometry.
That's so interesting. I gotta ask you, Ryan. 500,000 particles or pieces.
Yeah.
That's certainly a lifetime supply of snacks for me. I mean,
Well, and they're high-res models. I mean, when you really look at each donut, it's, there's 20,000 polygons in each piece. So I don't want to get too much into the technical, but really leveraging the power of instancing, right? So it's not actually real geometry; it's instanced onto points in space. Is very efficient in terms of rendering. Actually, these frames, I use a GPU renderer, and these frames were only 4 or 5 minutes long for full. I think we're working in 4K, so it's pretty amazing performance actually.
I'm just curious, how long did it take to put it together, given using instances?
So amazingly, one of the reasons I hired a simulation artist is because I had, I don't know, 10 shots to do, and we had really just a couple weeks, maybe 3 weeks from the very beginning to the end. So it was, a lot of projects start like that, where they start very, very close to the deadline, and you end up pretty much working a lot, staying up all night, kind of scrambling to the end. So I think this went pretty well. Let's see, what do I have here? Oh, okay. So this shows the rotomation. So this is a character that I use to animate his position, which is kind of cool because he actually, in the plate, he landed on a big pad, of course. And so one of the other things I had to do is to cut out that pad and paint the background and make him land about a foot lower onto the ground. Let's see. One more thing here, and then I can move to the next spot. So this is another view of just of the main simulation coming from both sides of the top of the staircase. Just so you can see, it's a lot of objects. Great. Okay. So on the next project, can I move on to the next one?
Sure,
So,
absolutely. Go on.
yeah. So on the next project, the first thing I had to do is to model the elevator and line it up in camera with some camera info that we got from the shoot. This is an initial try at the simulation, which was really funny because things are popping around. So we had a long way to go to make this work technically. The reason that they're popping is because rotation values in Houdini are quaternions, and Maya is not so lucky to use quaternions natively. And so this was on set. So this is, at least from a lighting point of view, it was nice to have a plate like this on set because I had something to generally match to. And this is a little bit of lighting in the middle. Let's see, I think that's all I have to show for that. Oh, I have one more thing, which is kind of cool. If you remember, in that spot, there was a vending machine that flew out on the floor here to get in her way, and you can see that the rails on the floor are are not supposed to be there. So we had to remove those, and I think you can see sparks in here. So I added those sparks and also got rid of the rails, which is a little bit tricky for those of you paying attention. You can see there's people walking in the background, and so their reflection is right on the floor, right where right in front of the rails, which made that a little bit more a little bit harder to do. Let's see. So I'm going to jump into. Okay, I'm going to jump into my another job, and I will play you a little compilation. So this is for Zales, and it's a completely different kind of job. Most jobs, the ones that are really fun to work with, are ones where the director knows exactly what they want, like this Giovanni stuff. They know that they want a torrent of food. They know that it's junk food, and there wasn't a lot of exploration to do. There was just there was exploration in terms of the simulation, in terms of the look of things, but not in terms of what we're looking at. And so this job is a good job to contrast against that. This is I'll play a little compilation of shots that I did for them. And so these are really green screen shots on a little staircase. I'm a generalist, so I do everything. So I do the nuke work and the compositing and the keying and stuff like that, and color work, and modeling and particles and all that kind of stuff, and lighting. And so this is a good example of typical work that I get. And so I'm going to show. So in this particular job, they had a block of glass, and I just wanted to show you guys the amount of different versions of this that I did. It's just I showed them so many different versions of just this glass, which is really fun as a lighter. It's fun to just like make new stuff. We're playing with the idea that they might be made of gems. And so in the other shot where the people are walking down the staircase, I think I made, I don't know how many I have, but maybe 30 or 40 different versions of this. Let me just show you a couple. So they really like this round version, which is I kind of like. But then we went into more of the dinner plate kind of look, and there were lots of versions of this. This piece actually ended up in another spot that they did in the same campaign. Some very complex ones. Some, I don't even know what that is. They're weird. That turned into like this ice sculpture kind of weirdness. Strange tunnels with electricity. I don't know. That looks like an alien ice tunnel. I don't know what that is. Some more gem-based things. And this evolved into this kind of like gold, abstract gold, I don't know, spider webby looking stuff. I liked it. I thought it was good. I developed it a little bit further until I got to something like this, and I was like, hey, this is good. This is, and the people that I was working with, they liked it, and they showed it to the client. The client said, absolutely not, no way, you're way off base. So
like,
we ended
Brian,
up.
what was, I'm sorry I'm interrupting, but I'm so curious. What was your thought process when you know the client does not have a clue what they want? They have a pretty vague idea of what it is going to be? What was your thought? How did you come up with all these different variations and permutations of things that you don't even know what it is, but you just put it out there?
It really has everything to do with your attitude going in. I mean, if you are going in thinking that you want to get this over with, then yeah, that can be annoying. But if you go into it thinking that it's an opportunity to really be creative, and as long as you're not hitting the deadline too hard, it's a great opportunity to, like, make some cool stuff and have some fun. And so, you guys remember that we ended up with something like this, right? And then from here, I made like a cloth sim of confetti and balloons, and what else was in there? Oh yeah, rose petals. So it's pretty neat. Yeah, there are the balloons. Some, unlit. I had to fix them in comp, but so I wanted to show a little bit of just a little demo of how one of these shots. Hopefully you guys can see that. So this is in Nuke, and this is this is how it was shot on a green screen with a little staircase in there. And so what I'm showing you is sort of my process. First, starting with tracking, so track the camera, finding creating a point cloud. If you can see the white stairs in that point cloud, and so that will give you camera information. For those of you not savvy in the industry, I'll try to reduce the complexity of what I'm talking about here. But pretty much I'm tracking the camera here and making sure that any geometry that I add into this shot will stick and it won't slide and look fake.
Ryan, just a quick question. Were you on set and directing these shots, or?
Oh no, I wasn't. No, I wasn't. I was definitely in post on this project. They just sent me the footage, gave me some information about the camera, and I had to figure everything else out, which is fun.
You must have coordinated with them somehow, yeah, for this shot.
No.
No.
Mm-hmm. So let's see. Oh, okay. So here I'm looking at what's called crypto mats. It's a new matting technology that is pretty much standard in the industry right now, which allows you to make mats for about anything, any geometry. And then this is using the normals on geometry to simulate how a light might hit it. So here I'm moving a virtual light in this scenario, and you can see how the light moves on the geometry. It's not really a light, it's just using the normals, the ways that the faces are pointing to simulate that. And in this case, I'm just using it to get that side of the stairs, because I need that. I need to lighten or darken that in the spot. Move zip it ahead. Oh, okay. So this is neat. So this is the confetti that was made, that I made, and you can see it falling on the stairs there. And then here's with just a little glow, same kind of thing. And I think I go to the final. Okay, so this is the confetti in Maya. And this is what the geometry looks like. It looks, nothing like it does in camera. This is always fun to see the simulation. I'm in love with this stuff, so I can look at this stuff all day. I don't want to bore you guys, but this is just the process that you go through. So this is this is working on the confetti, making sure that the footage sticks to the geometry here, and then I'll look at the final render.
Ryan, was the confetti simulation done in Houdini, or how did you do that?
No, I just did it in Maya as a cloth sim. Yeah, there's some really good ways of doing that that are pretty quick. But I've worked with cloth for a long time, so for me, it really just took like 5 minutes. This is a little sneak peek into how I would do some look dev work. I use Redshift, so this is the Redshift viewport, and here I'm taking this clear crystal and making it purple, I believe. Okay. And so this is a GPU render. I have 3 kind of old GPUs in this machine, but they work together to make it, pretty fast, snappy. Okay, so one thing I wanted to show is that's specific to GridMarkets is how does GridMarkets come into play here? And so this is an example of how I would use. So for this particular file, I used I rendered this in GridMarkets. So I wanted to sort of talk through some of this. So GridMarkets has plugins for these apps. So this plugin's up here, and this is my submission window that allows me to give it a project name, lots of information about how many, what the frame range is. Because I'm only doing a demo, I'm rendering only 2 frames because I'm a cheap I'm a cheap guy. And so this is me submitting it to GridMarkets. And so the second part of the submission is the pre-flight, which is very convenient. Usually you kind of have to guess at what's being synced. But I find that the GridMarkets syncing and virtualization of your project structure is it's very smooth. It shows you what it's uploading, and then it breaks up the job into 2 parts, right? The upload and sync, and then the actual rendering. And so so this is the web portal, and this is pretty much how you would manage jobs on the web. So this is the job that I just submitted. It's white because it hasn't picked up yet. So it says the status is starting. And right now it's just syncing files up to my storage on GridMarkets. And this is an important piece of software here. This is the management software called Envoy. And now with this new version, it takes a lot of pieces that you would have to do on the web in the web portal up here, and brings them down to this this one piece of software, and it's great. It's you can in here I'm looking at the actual files that have been uploaded to my project there, and so these are all my source images. This is my HDR that I lit with. And you can see, everything that's been uploading and downloading, and you can manage particular jobs, and you can see their status. So this job is now running, and if you look at them, you can see that they've been running for 31 seconds here. This is how many credits you're consuming. And really, you have a lot of control over these machines. So this leads me to, I think this is a good enough explanation of how the GridMarkets submission process works. So can I jump into the last thing that I was going to talk about?
Go ahead, Ryan. Yep.
Okay, great. All right. You already know who I am, so I'm going to go into my 2 cents on rendering. So this is really just an explanation of of my journey with rendering. You know, how things started, and the decision-making process that happens along the way during, you know, under different situations. So when you're working at a studio, usually studios have their own render farms, and it's very convenient, but it's also very expensive for them. They have to build a server room. They have to make it their own. You know, the server room has to have its own AC system. There's IT staff. The blades that they purchase really only last. They're only fast. They're only considered fast for like 2 or 3 years. So there's a lot of other. There's a lots of other costs involved, and it is not something that's easily reproduced unless you are willing to, you know, put down a lot of cash. So when I went on my own, I was thinking, well, I'm gonna, you know, build some fantastic workstations, and I do have some workstations here in my home office, but as you guys know, building a workstation right now is incredibly hard. COVID-19 has made pretty much everybody working from home desire building a new workstation. So all the components are really hard to find. There's crypto miners, scammers, and scalpers. They're really taking up all the GPUs specifically. Just looking at, this is my dream machine, and it only in quotes has 2 RTX 3090 cards, and I've been salivating trying to build this, but looking online, you know, this is $24,000. Crazy. Everything has triple retail costs to it. Everything is out of stock as well. I really want this, but I can't get it. And so building your own machines is really fun, and it could be useful, and it does. You know, sometimes I render my jobs at home when I can, if they're small, but it really just can't solve all of your rendering problems. You know, we have tight deadlines. You know, there's tight deadlines, and it's unpredictable. Clients change their mind. They, you know, all of a sudden this gold tunnel that you've been working on now is crystal, and you have to render all those shots out again. And if you do render at home and you charge for rendering, you pretty much have to make up a price. It's arbitrary. And some clients that I charge for rendering that I do at home, they're like, you know, $1,000 really for rendering this at home? It, you know, it took you the weekend. You know, what does that cost based on? I mean, it was free for you. I'll pay your electricity bills. So that's a pain. So we all need a reliable solution that's not just rendering at home. And for me, for years, it's been Zinc Render. I set up my old studio on Zinc as an emergency backup, right? When our farm was full, or it was down, or we had problems, we had some accounts that used Zinc. But as some of you may be aware, it's closing actually next week, which is pretty devastating, and hopefully a good opportunity for GridMarkets. One other option is to roll your own, to, you know, make some rendering solutions on public cloud platforms. And so I've done a few of those. I've built actually 3 different rendering systems on Google Cloud Platform. That's what I know. But I found out that it takes a lot of work. It takes maintenance, time, effort. You need to monitor. You need to make sure that you shut down machines after using them. you know, I'm not a security expert. I'm an artist, so I made it as secure as I could, but I knew that if I really wanted to take security seriously, I would need to hire some, you know, real security experts to do that. And there are other costs that add up. But the main thing is, after all of this effort, I realized that, you know, I'm an artist. I want to do art. I don't want to, you know, I don't want to spend days and days and days trying to figure out how, you know, how Linux file servers will work with Windows permissions and stuff like that. So in the end, it was really, it was really an inconvenience. And honestly, I broke them down, and I decided, I broke all of those render farms down, and I decided that there were some commercial render farms out there that were really good. So I've used a lot of commercial render farms, and I don't want to name names, but I have found a couple of things that I feel are very important for commercial render farms. They need to have tiers. You need, you know, when time doesn't matter but money does, you need an economy mode. And when money doesn't matter but time does, you need a rush mode. Those are pretty basic, and you wouldn't believe there's lots of render farms out there that don't have those. They need to be reliable. There's many farms out there that maybe they feel very cheap, or they are cheap, but you're in the middle of a project and you have, you know, 400 frames on there, and 200 frames in, the entire farm fills up, and there's nothing they can do, and you're really SOL at that point. So you should always be able to get some kind of notes. You should have, you know, you should have, yeah, some feedback. Oh, and some render farms are an accumulation of lots of different kinds of computers and different builds with different software, and there's all sorts of problems that can happen with a system like that. They need to be able to be customized. You need to be able to run a simulation on simulation hardware, and run GPU stuff, you know, GPU renders on GPUs, and have a choice. You need to be able to manage your jobs well, and the syncing should be seamless. You should be able to get notifications about running out of money, which is nice, and you know, the status of your jobs. Client billing should be easy to pass on, right? You should be able to take the actuals or the costs of your jobs and show your client if they are willing to pay. You know, render farms should be under active development, and they should take support seriously. They should have like a ticket system. And I find that that GridMarkets pretty much ticks all these boxes, and I think I'm you know, very happy with it. And that's my 2 cents on rendering.
That was more than 2 cents, Ryan.
A little bit.
That was a mic drop on due diligence on render farms out there. It was amazing. So we need to be quick here. We're kind of running out of time, but I'm just going to ask you a couple questions that I've received. One is, you know, a lot of folks want to be able to work with these big brand names someday, and you, having worked with them, with a bunch of them, what is the advice that you might have for folks who are ambitious about this? They want to be the artist of choice. What are the things that you learned? What are the advice you have for them?
Well, I mean, I think the impression that a lot of people, especially people that are just entering the industry, is that there are rock stars out there, and they are extremely talented, and everything comes really easily to them, and they just skate through, and they go straight to Pixar. They get out of school, they go straight to Pixar, and it's a cakewalk. I'm not so lucky in that way. I have some talent, but not. Definitely have seen people that are much more talented than I am, and I think if I had to quantify or my secret sauce, as it were, it would really be perseverance. I really do think that if you have a little bit of talent and you really love what you're doing, and you really love animation, and anything that you're doing, over time you will get good at it, and over time you will you know you will have success. There's a little clip that I want to play. Can I share my screen one more time?
Sure.
Go ahead, Ryan. You should be able to do.
I was watching
What
Quentin
happens is
Tarantino talking about this.
they hit with some film is passion. You don't
Look
have
at
to.
this.
You can go on this job my way or the highway.
You don't have to know how to make a movie. If you truly love cinema with all your heart and with enough passion, you can't help but make a good movie. You don't have to go to school. You don't have to know a lens, a 40 and a 50 and all that shit. Crossing the line. None of that shit's important. If you just truly love cinema with enough passion and you really love it, then you can't help but make a good movie.
So true.
Bam.
Yeah.
That was the amazing answer to all that. The mic drop, exactly. So yeah, we're gonna have to wrap this up. I mean, I'm sure there's just a lot more questions, but you can actually send your questions to us, folks. Just again, this has been recorded. It will be uploaded to our website. You can go to gridmarkets.com/webinars. And Zinc users, you can get actually 20% off. Mark, can you just elaborate real quick on this for folks who are listening?
I can, Ahmed. Yeah. So if you're a Zinc user, go to our sign up page, and there's a box where you can add your Zinc URL in the sign up. When you do, that'll then qualify you to receive the 20% discount over the first month of your usage. So just go to the sign up page, add your Zinc URL, and you're good to go. You'll get a notification from us that you qualify. And then 1 month later, you'll get the bonus.
And you can use the promo code 2021 May 19 webinar, and you can get 50 free credits. You can ask if there's a question you've had we couldn't really answer because we were running out of time, just send it to support@gridmarkets.com. Go ahead and check out the website. Go ahead and check out Ryan OPhelan. A lot of you know him already, but if you don't, just go ahead and check out the work he's done. Ryan, this was absolutely mind-blowing, man. Thank you very much for everything you shared.
Awesome presentation, Ryan.
Yeah,
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, great inspiration as well.
Absolutely. Thank you very much, everybody, for being with us. Check out gridmarkets.com. Don't forget that. Go ahead to the website, check out what it is, and check out the previous webinar as well. With that, we're done, and have a beautiful day.